Hello, world. Welcome to Chats with Baba. This is brought to you by the Lighthouse for Academic and Cultural Excellence. Baba is a global term for elder or grandfather, and I've reached that point in my life. The purpose of the podcast is to inform and empower parents of young Black children. The information is relevant and pertinent to all children, but I target this particular audience simply because when we look at academic, quote unquote, success in literacy, math, science, social studies, our children are behind. So the idea is to inform parents about them being the first and foremost teachers in the lives of their children. To inform parents is to enable them to release the natural genius in Black children. Black children have untapped and underdeveloped gifts. The quality of experience and continued exposure lays the foundation for life. We want to move from miseducation to high quality education. We want to strive for excellence. A podcast world today is going to be somewhat of a mixed bag. Why? At this time of the year, children are returning to school. The COVID-19 is on the rise, as if it's happening for the first time, in spite of it being with us for a long time. There's so much going on in terms of children returning to school, and do they go masked or unmasked? And there's a lot of mixed feelings about it. But let me just share with you the data that's coming from one of the largest professional education organizations, which is ASCD, the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development, based in Washington. So they try to stay attuned to parents and so forth and so on. So bear with me as I share. This is the most recent poll. And the poll taken by USA Today determined that 64% of parents are backing teachers to wear masks in school, regardless of their vaccination status. 62% approve of the same mandate for students. So the majority of parents want teachers to be masked, and they want children to be masked. And what it shows is the general population of people are supportive of mandating vaccine for teachers and school staff. And they're in like the 65 to 70% approval rate. Half of parents report that they support requirements for eligible students to be vaccinated. Okay, in other words, if they have the vaccine and children are eligible, they would like for that to happen. If you follow the data, there's been a spike in the number of children that's being impacted. And that number seems to be growing. So I'm just sharing with you that the professional organizations are supporting children getting vaccinated. It's supporting teachers and staff of wearing masks, as well as children wearing masks. It's also being supported by the American Academy of Pediatrics. Children are making up a significant portion of those who are now getting this COVID-19. So I'm sharing that with you, hopefully, just to inform you of what's coming from the professional organizations. I would also share with you that when children are returning to school and coming home, that as parents, you want to be concerned about their emotional safety. How are they feeling? And it would be wise to just have chats with them, to talk to them about what they're experiencing at school, how they are feeling, and their safety. we as a community have to recognize these are not normal times for children going back to school. We had, in the past, put them on the bus in the morning, wishing them to have a good day and waiting for them to return in the afternoon. There are issues in schools. There are districts where they don't have enough drivers. There are districts where drivers are being impacted. There are districts where staff is being impacted. So it's disrupting the school day as we've known it. So what I'm saying to you is these are things that we just need to be aware of. What that's going to look like down the road, scholars, scientists, and administrators, and other supportive groups are trying to figure it out. What we do know that it will not be business as usual as we're dealing with this pandemic. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Let me go back to over the last couple of sessions. As you know, I've been focusing on this whole issue of reading. It is so critical that children have a good foundation. You heard me say that we build on the foundation by exposing them to high quality experiences. What the research tells us is this: a mother's reading skill is the greatest determinant of her children's future academic success. Let me say that again. A mother's reading skill is the greatest determinant of her child's future academic success. When you read to your children, they see you reading, it encourages them to read. When you have conversations with them, it helps them to build their vocabulary. It enables them to respond to questions that you ask them. And so there's a back and forth in the communications process, which is what's expected once they get in school. You've heard me say before, teach them to listen, teach them to follow directions, teach them to start a task and finish a task and respond. That becomes almost routine in your engaging with them. And it's sort of the routine that's expected in school. Continue to ask them high level questions of the how to, and why questions. This increases, even the preschools, it increases their ability to respond to you. When you are working on the reading and the literacy skills, I want you to think about some things. Let's just talk about language. When you have a book, let's take a book, for example. As you are not only reading to them, let them know that the book has a front, it has a back, it has a title, it has an author. And you go over those things repeatedly. And eventually the children will say, you could ask the question, what part of the book is this? This is the front, this is the back, this is the title, and the author. And the author is who? That's the person who wrote the book. That's the person who provides you with all of the information that's in the book. The beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and the end of the story. So this is just a routines. You also talk to them about this is the top of the book, this is the bottom of the book, this is the left side of the book, this is the right side of the book, and on and on and on. You also help them to distinguish between words and letters, words and sentences. You identify upper and lowercase letters for them. Now, I guess what I'm sharing with you, podcast folks, is that these are skills and things that teachers normally do. And then as a teacher, these things help you to do is to better inform you Okay, let me put it like that. It is to better inform you. So as you're doing this, let me go back to when you talk about the identification of the alphabet, uppercase and lowercase. So you can visually show them the difference of an uppercase letter, a lowercase letter. So remember, the children learn through their senses, and as you call their attention to these kinds of things, it becomes an automatic response, uppercase, lowercase. You also point out things to them of where, as you read, you move from left to right. Now, what does this do? This is part of building that foundation for them in reading. And it doesn't change. I mean, it really does not change. Once they internalize these things, they are developing not only the knowledge, but the skills in the process of becoming a good reader. Your intonation, your voice, your modulation of your voice. Remember, listening is one of the senses as they are going through this process. Am I being redundant? Yes. Developing reading skills is a redundant process. It's a repetitive process. So you're going over the things over and over and over until it gets to the point it becomes almost routine. They know how to get the book. They know how to open the page. They know that you read from left to right. You read from top to bottom. When you talk about the foundation, if there was a laundry list, all of what I'm sharing with you are those elements that contribute to children's ability to learn to read. And I can't say enough about that. It's a slow process, and the depending upon how much time you're willing to put into it. Also, remember where children are in terms of their development. All 5-year-olds aren't the same. All 3-year-olds aren't the same. They may be the same in age, but exposure and experience makes a difference in terms of their developing the knowledge and skills. The amount of time that you put into it makes a difference. And so I share those things with you today to say that if you go back when I talk about time, investment, being resourceful, being patient, and being committed, and it's like it's just like it's like any good team. They what they do is repetitive until it becomes internalized, and when they're called on, they know how to respond. It's the same thing with children. When you're teaching them to read, there's an excitement about wanting to read. There's an interest. They're motivated, and your behavior, how you engage them, has a lot to do with how they begin that process. So I don't mean to belabor it in one respect, but I do in terms of knowing that it's repetition until children get to the point that they have internalized those skills. So today it was sort of a mixed bag. Talk a little bit about the children returning to school. I talked a little bit about what I've been reviewing for the last couple of sessions on the importance of reading. And it's sort of like the old folks, you can't say it enough. And one of the things I would like to close with is that children enjoy stories coming from their parents. Tell them stories about your childhood. Tell them stories about things that you remember when you were in school. And so be like the griot, the storyteller. My children love to hear me tell stories about my childhood, and I do it in a way that it's humorous, it's funny, and as they've gotten on in their adult life and raising their children, they share with them things about their parents. So again, be a storyteller. Now, all stories don't have to have a happy ending. There are things that may be sometimes difficult to discuss with them, but don't put yourself in a bind. But let them know that there's always an outcome to every story. And so with that, much of what I've been sharing will be a continued effort in my newsletter. So I'm signing off today. Have a good week.